Hello and welcome to my app development for beginners. This will cover iPhone apps. So to start with, load up your MacBook and go to the App Store and download Xcode. As you see, I've already done it here. So I'm just going to click Open, which will open Xcode. Now, when you see here, you click on Create a new project. So I'll just select that, and these are different templates, so just start with a single view app. Just keep it simple. Give it a name, so I'll just call this Demo App. Select your team if there is one, and you can fill in the rest. This information isn't too important when you're starting out. The language I choose is Swift, and the user interface I'm using is Storyboard. Don't worry about selecting core data, and there's no need to select these other two if you don't want to, or you can, it really doesn't matter. Click Next, and then choose where you want to save it. I'm just going to save it on my desktop, and it will then build a brand new app project. Now, to start with, the most important document to go to is this main storyboard. Don't accidentally go to the launch screen one, as some people do sometimes. So the main storyboard loads, and this is our main user interface for building the app. So we can add items by clicking on this plus button at the top right. So what I'm going to do is add a text field here. You can see I'm just going to drag it over into the app. It's just thinking, and I can then place it. And then very much like a PowerPoint, I can drag it across the screen and line it up. And I can put some placeholder text. So under this placeholder on the right here, I'll write enter some text. Hit return, and you'll see that then appears here. I'll then add a button. Again, I can just drag it over here and pull it all the way to the other side of the screen. And lastly, I'm going to add a label. Now, a label is just a way of presenting text that's read-only. So the idea being, I'm just going to drag that. Now, the idea being that I will enter some text up here, I will press the button, and whatever text I've written up here, it will appear in this label. That's going to be my simple app. Now, this label, I can center it, I can change the font size to make it bigger or smaller, I can change the color, very much what you'd be used to in programs like Word and so forth. Okay, now what I need to do is tie this in with the actual code. So what I do, I just select any one of these objects, and then I go to these multiple lines up at the top right, this adjust editor options, and I select assistant. And that then opens up my view controller. This is the class or the code that will control this page. So I then hold down control button and I click drag into the class. Now you'll see I can put it just above this view did load section, and I'll call it something. I can call it whatever I want, but I will just call it my text field. And I click connect, and you'll see if I do a new line, it's created my text field. And what that means is anywhere in this code that I refer to my text field, it will be that object that it's referring to, the text field we added. I then do the same with my label, drag it across, and I'll just call it my label and connect. And so I've got my label and my text field. Now, those are both objects because I want to take text from one and put that text in the other. And then I also have an action, and the action is the action of pressing a button. So I hold down the control button, and while still holding, drag the button to the bottom section of the code here, and you'll see it defaults to action. and I can just call this show text. Whoops, show text button was pressed. But you can call it whatever you like, but something that tells us what's going on. Now what will happen is when that button is pressed, this section of code will get called, anything inside here. So inside this bit of code here, I want to say, I'm going to create a new variable called input text, and the input text I'm going to make equal to my text field. So remember, my text field, which is written up the top here, refers to this text field over on the left. So I want the input to be my text field's text property. So whatever text I wrote in there. And then I want, when the button's pressed, I also want my label, which if you remember is this label up here, which refers to this label over here. I want its text property to equal the input text. If I now press play, I'll just select an iPhone 8 and I'll press play. And this will now start up the iPhone simulator. You can see along the top it's building, so this will just take a few moments. And you can see the build has succeeded. It's now launching the demo app, and it can just take a while, especially on slightly older machines. And up it should come any minute now. There we go. So I can enter some text. Hello world. I then press the button and it appears as hello world. And that's how you build a very simple app very simply. Thank you very much.